So I found... Scratch that. Because...
We're out of
Great
practice.
start.
Well, no. I was just like, if you listen back to like every episode we've ever done, so I always start with so and then long pause. And so I was trying to not do that. Because when I go to edit, I'm like, meh, it can stay in. And you know what? Screw it. This is going to stay in. How about that, future Mitch? This I saw like scrolling like I don't know if it was Reddit or Facebook or whatever, but it was an interesting question, something that probably comes up frequently, but whatever. What canceled TV show deserves a comeback? And Matt, you were immediate in your answer, and then even I threw out the disclaimer like you can't include Firefly because I feel like everyone would say Firefly. But even still, you were like, "No, I'm good." So, what is it?
Yeah, I don't know why. This is one of those questions that I have had an answer to since, well, apparently 1997 when the show first aired. The only caveat to this is that we can't actually have a reboot of this show because the main star was Heath Ledger. This was Roar. And it was a show that was set in 5th century Ireland. I'm reading the little plot summary because I couldn't remember exactly how to describe it. He's a young Celtic chieftain, and his allies fight against the Roman encroachment, the manipulative pro-Roman puppet ruler of Ireland, Queen Diana, and her immortal advisor who seek the biblical spear of Longinus. This was at the time when Xena and Hercules were big. This was not necessarily a spin-off, but this was the first thing I remember seeing Heath Ledger in. He was the main character. This show was awesome, and it didn't even last a full season before it got canceled. And it always made me mad that I saw the commercials. I was going to watch this. It was I watched every episode when it was on, and it didn't even make a full season. And for some reason, ever since then, that's been my answer to this question. This show needed more time.
I have never even heard of this show, but I'm going to try to find episodes on YouTube or whatever.
You should. And honestly, I almost kind of want to watch it now again and see what kind of a guilty pleasure dumpster fire. Was this good, or am I just delusional?
But you said that was it in the same vein as Xena and all that, or was it from the same production company?
I don't think it was the same production company, but it was the same style.
Okay.
Not quite as mythological in sense. It had some fantastical elements, but it was more nitty-gritty kind of look at this particular situation in history.
Gotcha. So I was gonna say, if it was the same production company, then it technically might exist in the same universe as Cleopatra 2525.
Oh, no.
But surprisingly, that is not my answer. My answer is not necessarily even geeky at all, but Happy Endings. It was a sitcom that aired on ABC for 3 seasons. It kind of followed the Friends format. It's got 6 people in a big city. This time it's Chicago. But 2 of the main characters, in the series premiere, are getting married. They are at the altar, and she leaves him at the altar. But then they all still end up being friends with each other. And this was one of those shows that I could not miss. I loved every episode of it. It was so funny. Like I said, it got criminally canceled after 3 seasons. Recently went back and did a rewatch of it, and a lot of the jokes are topical. So it's they haven't aged well, not necessarily in the, ooh, they should be canceled, not that kind of aged poorly, but just oh, I get that reference because I was alive then. This person might not. But that said, I mean, I know I've seen, the cast members talking and everything, the cast members would love for this to come back. I would love for it to come back. ABC, if you're listening, you reboot everything. Reboot this, please. Lydia.
So mine is Dark Angel.
Ooh.
I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, but it is Jessica Alba is the main character. There's Michael Weatherly, and second season, which is the season that got canceled after, you get Baby Jensen Ackles.
I was really hoping you're going to say Baby Yoda. I don't know why, but
No.
Nope.
So I'm just going to mirror Matt and just read the synopsis because that's the best way to describe it. It says, a genetically engineered superhuman prototype, Max, who as a child escaped from a covert government military facility, along with 11 others who are all being raised and trained to be super soldiers. Now an adult, Max joins forces with idealist cyber journalist Logan to battle corruption in post-apocalyptic America as he constantly tries to elude capture by government agents. While all that is going on, Max also searches for her genetically enhanced brothers and sisters, all of whom were scattered in the aftermath of their escape. This was in 2000, and thinking back, this is probably like the first adult show that little Lydia really got into, because before that it was all cartoons and all that. So I just remember really clinging to the show, and we got through the 2 seasons like, okay, let's keep going, and they're like, yeah, that's all there is. We can't watch anymore.
Oh.
Well, why?
Oh.
So, I really want to find it and go back and watch it, because I'm sure it's probably going to be like one of those guilty pleasure things at this point, because I'm sure it probably, like you said, hasn't aged well. But I just remember really loving this show as a kid, and I would like to see it back, and especially with those 3 now. I just feel like it would be really interesting to see them interact again.
yeah, 100%. Tabitha.
So I went back and forth in my brain after I figured out a list of these things, because every time you ask a question, my brain forgets that it even knows what a TV is.
Same.
It's I don't shows who. I ended up landing on Roswell simply because it came out around the same time Dawson. It was I think a year later than Dawson's Creek, and I was I really liked Dawson's Creek, but not for the drama. I really liked the vocabulary in that show, because I am a nerd, and they were using big words, and if I didn't know them, I wrote them down and looked them up. I blame Dawson's Creek for my vocabulary, but I was also very into X-Files and Twilight Zone, and when Roswell rolled out on the CW, I was like, I'm sorry, this is Dawson's Creek meets Aliens? Sign me up. There were 3 seasons of it. It was wonderful. It ended so badly because I did not know until the last episode they were getting canceled, and then everything in that last episode is just hurry up and rush, and then it is just tragic at the end. I don't think I'll ever be able to go back and watch it, because I don't think I can stomach watching that last episode ever again in my life. I don't know. Everybody here is probably super familiar with Roswell, but 3 alien siblings have landed in Roswell, New Mexico, and they're being raised by humans, and they know they're aliens, but no one else knows they're aliens, and they're befriending humans. And there's teen drama, but sci-fi teen drama. It's just, it's such a good show, but it was just absolutely devastating when that ended.
Did you ever watch the remake or the reboot or whatever it was?
I tried. I watched half of an episode, and then I stopped.
Was it connected at all to the original?
Yeah, it had 2 or 3 of the cast members in it, and it was effectively if I remember correctly, it was one of their children, so they had gone back to their planet, and then were oh, JK, we have a new journey to go on, and they brought one of their kids, I think. I again did not get far enough into it to actually know what it was about, because it was bad.
And the vocabulary was not to Tabitha's standards.
Facts. But now I just want to go watch Dawson's Creek.
I don't want to wait. You're listening to The Geek Awakens with Mitch,
Matt.
Tabitha.
And Lydia.
All right. So, first thing I want to talk about this week, actually, the first thing I want Matt to talk about this week. Coming up in November, I think, is NaNoWriMo, which is
NaNoWriMo.
what?
Right.
National Novel Writing Month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I said
NaNoWriMo.
Yeah.
NaNoWriMo.
You sound like me. NaNoWriMo.
And you should absolutely leave all of this in.
Oh, I'm going to. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten kind of lazy in my editing. Basically, unless it's something where, like, I might sound vaguely racist, I leave it in. Like,
I thought you were gonna say you got lazy on your old age, so
Yes.
editing.
yeah, I'm gonna cut that part out. But yeah. Anyway, so that is coming up in November, but there are already some not cool things that have come out with it.
Yeah, so they had issues last year because NaNoWriMo runs like a discussion board for anybody that's participating that they can use. There are volunteer moderators that obviously watch those different topics. Across a number of those topics last year, they had issues with highly inappropriate comments that were being made and not flagged or taken down, including some that were bordering on, I think what people refer to as, I think they were flagging them as grooming issues. So yeah, so moderators had issues. NaNoWriMo basically like didn't address the issue at all. They just kind of are like, oops, sorry, like a very half-assed apology. So this year, as we continue to talk about, AI is always now a topic of conversation. They put out a statement, which a lot of places are now doing creatively, about AI. They basically said on their official blog that that NaNoWriMo does not explicitly support or condemn any one approach to writing. They elaborated by stating that to categorically condemn AI would be to ignore classist and ableist issues surrounding the use of technology. So your whole point is that people write themselves a novel of 50,000 words in a month. But I guess it's okay if you do that using AI. Like it categorically undermines what people are doing with NaNoWriMo. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of authors across social media that have just come out and have said, this is not okay for a creative enterprise to basically say, yeah, it's okay to use AI. They've just turned their back on NaNoWriMo. So I've seen, I don't know, dozens, including, some bigger names. John Scalzi has basically come out and said, he's like, this is trash. Like, I can't believe they would do this. I'm paraphrasing his, whatever. Some of them put blog posts out about it, like full in depth, like this is not okay.
Hopefully not written by AI.
No, not written by,
That'd be awkward.
yeah. So it's they have not responded to the backlash, which at this point they probably are not going to. It's probably just going to be what it is. But there are a lot of other people online that have now said, well, okay, we're not doing NaNoWriMo. We are going to come up with our own thing kind of in the same vein, and open to everyone to, be welcoming and everything, but obviously no AI, because that's kind of the point of being an author. So,
Right.
Yeah, the fact that they're basically going, oh, hey, this is fine, when you got people that put time and effort and thought into these stories and pitting that against somebody that can go, hey, AI bot, write me a story that has these elements, that has this many words in it. Click, done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not okay.
I mean, an argument could be made because, like, AI it is kind of becoming like an all-encompassing, phrase or whatever. You could make the, like, ableist argument to a certain, extent. I don't know exactly, what, but like that, I'd like, okay, tell me why. I'm willing to listen, but tell me why it is. I don't see how it's classist at all. If you are in a position where you can use AI, you are in a position where you can write a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100%. That is not a thing at all.
Yeah. And I think when all is said and done, that is the part of this that so many of these professional authors, like I said, John Scalzi, Cynthia Palejo, have all said, is like, that's the issue, is like, to claim that it's classist and ableist, like, it just doesn't track.
Yeah. And I guess to kind of go back to the ableist thing, like, you could argue that, like, speech to text is using AI.
Which I was going to bring that up.
So, like, somebody who is not able to write, like, like they don't have use of their arms or hands, could use that.
Yeah.
So, like, in that instance, that is something that, like, okay, I get where you're coming from. Like, that instance, sure, it's okay. But to just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just a little poor boy. Can I write this novel real quick? Like, no, that's not a thing. And I feel like Tabitha's about to explode with what I just did.
Why is that poor boy a Southern Belle?
Fiddle-dee-dee.
I do declare. I'm gonna have nightmares about Mitch's southern accent.
I'm just saying, using that accent in Hamilton County, I would do well.
No.
It's not the right accent.
Yeah.
I feel like you would get lynched.
Yes. There would be a hate crime. Or two.
On that note, let's go to the pull list. What's on our pull list this week? So the first book we're going to talk about tonight is Dying Inside. It is out September 17th from Vault. It's written by Pete Wentz and Hannah Klein with art by Lisa Sterle. Before I get into the kind of the description of this book, I do want to point out this book does deal heavily with talks of suicide and self-harm. If that's triggering for you, by all means, skip ahead. In the show notes, I will, put the timestamp for the next review. Also, I'm going to include in the show notes resources if you or someone you know are experiencing the same thing. That said, Dying Inside. It's about this girl, Ash. She is 16 years old, and she is obsessed with Elliott Smith, who is a singer-songwriter who committed suicide, and she has decided that she is going to commit suicide in the same way that Elliott Smith did. But, plot twist, the sword or the knife or whatever that she bought off of Gitsy, I think it was?
Getsy.
Yes. She buys off of Getsy, turns her immortal. And so she tracks down, so she bought this from a witch. She tracks down the witch, and, basically, the witch helps her to kind of reverse the spell, but things don't necessarily go Ash's way. I started this book last night, and I noticed it was over 200 pages, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll probably read half of it and try to read the rest before the show tomorrow. I did not put this down. Even with the really tough topics that it does talk about, I could not put this book down. I devoured every second of it. Yes, it deals with hard things, but there's also a lot of brevity. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of Easter eggs. Pete Wentz is, he's the front man for Fall Out Boy. Well, okay, no, not the front man, but still.
Take that out of your mouth right now.
I am so sorry.
We will not disrespect Patrick Stump in this house like that, and I don't even live here.
Anyway, Pete Wentz is from Fall Out Boy. And at one point, I can't remember if it was one of the main characters or if it was a side character or whatever, but somebody is wearing an FOB shirt, you know? There was one part that really made me chuckle. I don't even know if it's a really big thing anymore, but you guys remember Be Real? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had like their Be Real moment at one point. I was like, that's hilarious. So for as many dark topics that this dealt with, like it dealt with it in, I don't want to say a fun manner, but I did have a lot of fun reading this book. And this book, while it doesn't necessarily go Ash's way, it has, in my opinion, a pretty happy ending. And you know, it's an kind of an open-ended ending, something that like maybe we could revisit down the line. But I was very satisfied by the end of it. Matt, I think you said you're about halfway through.
Yeah, I'm probably a little more than halfway. I also started this last night after reading some of the other stuff for tonight, and I was starting to fall asleep, and I had to put it down, but I did not want to. I'm within the same boat. Usually, like, I will go home on lunch, let the dogs out, have some lunch, and go back to work, and just I'll scroll my phone usually for 15 minutes. I grabbed my iPad and I kept reading this, and I did not want to go back to work because I wanted to finish this. It's so well done. And I know you a lot of times have problems with like black and white or monochromatic art. Mm-hmm. This is black and white or blue and black. Like the coloration, it's not colorized, but it's like two-tone. Fit this so well. The art was fantastic. The story, like you said, there's so much heart and there's so much going on in this story. There's the whole issue of her trying to commit suicide, and then there's the whole friendship issue that happens too, and like all of those things, and she's dealing with like family stuff, and like there's so many different heavy topics that are being dealt with in such an incredible way in this. Like I 100% want to finish this. I already told Tabitha, and she didn't get to start this, so I said it's great. It's got some great witchy vibes. Mm-hmm. I said, you know, when I finish this, you're definitely going to want to read this. And if, like you said, with the trigger warnings, like your content warnings, like if you can handle those types of subjects, absolutely dig into this. It is well worth it already. And I'm not even at the conclusion to see how this wraps up.
Yeah. Like I haven't, I'm going to kind of slightly pull back on that a little bit because the next book that we're going to talk about, I've bought every issue in store. but I guess maybe for graphic novels that we've read, I haven't had one that I've enjoyed enough to where I'm like, I'm going to buy this in person. I want to have a physical copy of this.
We've read quite a number of graphic novels that are co-written or written by music artists. This, like I said, not even finished, might be in the top 3 of all the ones that we have had the opportunity to read.
Yeah, 100%. So the last book we're going to talk about is Toxic Summer #3. It's out now from Oni Press by Derek Charm. In the finale of this miniseries, Leo and Ben fight off the monsters. But is there more than meets the eye? And can these two save any of their last summer before college? Tabitha, you said you read this. What'd you think?
I really liked the first 2 issues of this, and then this one kind of felt like a writing cop-out with the way it ended. I just wanted a little bit more out of the entire story arc than a dream sequence, which is what I felt like we got. So I'm a little disappointed on how it played out in the end, but I really, really enjoyed the first 2. So I think that honestly makes up for my lack of enjoyment of the final one.
Matt, what about you?
Yeah, the first two were like a dual issue, and then the first issue was a duel, so it was 2 stories, and then issue 2 was 1, and issue 3 was 1. I think when we got issue 1, I was expecting all 3 of these to be double length, so I was expecting like a 6-issue arc. And I think if we'd had a 6-issue arc, this would have been better, because the story would not have been so compressed on the back half, which I feel like issues 2 and 3 did that. Instead of being able to play things out, it was kind of condensed. You did kind of have to like shove the story in a box to get it to work in the number of pages. Not saying I didn't enjoy it, because I did. I love the art. I love the monsters. I thought they were super cool looking. But I felt like this definitely would have benefited from even 2 more issues to fill out that story a little bit more.
Yeah. I do agree with you guys in the sense that, like, I don't know about 2 more issues, but I think maybe 1 more issue to kind of like this last issue could have stretched out into 2. You know, the ending did kind of feel rushed, but at the same time, I did enjoy the ending that we got. I wish that there was more of a story to get there, if that makes sense. But I was happy with how everything was resolved. But that said, like, I did like the art in this entire series was just, it was just fun. You're right. The monsters are fantastic. Like the facial expressions, especially on like the 2 main characters throughout the entire series, were like phenomenal. But yeah, overall, the story was really fun. This is something that I think, like, especially with it being called Toxic Summer, I feel like this is a book that I would definitely revisit next summer, and kind of almost make it like an annual thing.
I know what you read last summer.
Exactly. But like, but at the same time, if we get like a Toxic Summer 2 and we get more of these characters, I'm also here for that. So let's go ahead and go into trailer takedown.
Let's get ready for trailer takedown.
And we've only, thankfully, got 2 trailers this week. There were a couple that was like, oh, hey, we should probably do this. But, a little bit of insight into our life. So our TV kind of, broke on us. So I was like, we could do a lot of trailers. But I was like, but how am I going to watch them? All on my phone? No, thank you. We'll just stick with the 2. So we have a very odd matchup this week. We have Wolfman versus Minecraft. And I'm not going to go first, but I do want to just point out Wolfman is 2 words in this movie, not 1, and that bugs me. Lydia, I want to start with you.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, definitely a odd matchup here. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize that the Minecraft movie was actually really a thing, because I saw a meme the other day that was like making fun of the fact that they literally just took Jack Black and gave him a blue shirt to make him Steve, and I was like, okay, is this like an internet video that I missed? Well, okay, I mean, sure, kind of lazy, but whatever. And then I realized when you sent the links, it's like, oh, this is actually a movie that's coming out. They legitimately just put this man in a blue shirt. Like, easiest costuming job ever. And
wait,
so,
I'm sorry. Hold on. Is Steve a character in Minecraft?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Steve is the character.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't change my opinion, and you'll hear about it in a minute. But
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
Got it.
Who's
Sorry.
Steve?
Lydia, continue.
Overall, I'm really not sure what they're trying to do with the story of this movie, if they even have one. I'm also highly confused as to how they somehow managed to make Jason Momoa unattractive, but they did. So yeah, I'm not really sure, but this trailer made me chuckle maybe once, and that was about it. Other than that, I was just confused. Wolfman, everyone here knows I love a good horror movie. I really liked the way this trailer kind of played with adding the title in throughout it, because it kind of was distracting. It was kind of cutting off the vision of the trailer, but it also gave you like enough of a disconnect that's like you couldn't really see what was going on, and you weren't getting spoiled as to like the jump scares and stuff that you're gonna see, which a lot of horror movie trailers are really bad about. It's like, here is all the best parts of the movie that we have, but yeah, you don't need to actually see it now because you just watched it. It's fine. So this one intrigues me. I want to see it, and it's a horror movie, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it over Minecraft and Jack Black's blue shirt. So I'm going to give Wolfman 9. I'm going to give Minecraft 1 for the one chuckle that it got out of me.
I hated both of these trailers.
Fair enough.
Just right out of the gate. Yeah, Jason Momoa's hair is god awful. Like when Jack Black introduces himself as Steve and then does like The Rock's like people's eyebrow, like that was just, it was just cringy. Even though now I know who Steve is, I was just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, just like at least with Minecraft, like I recognize this movie's not for me. I never played Minecraft. Like I've always felt that I was too old for Minecraft. I know that there are probably people older than me who do play it, but it's just not something that I just ever really got into. And then Wolfman, like, I don't know, man. Like, horror movies, like, I can get behind a horror movie. Even, like, I don't like them excessively gory. Like, I can deal with some gore. But, like, when the trailer is already excessively gory, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to sit this one out, and it's fine. Yeah, hated both of these, so 5 and 5. Matt?
I'm the exact opposite because I enjoyed both of these trailers. I think part of the Minecraft trailer is having a frame of reference. And both my kids play, and they play quite a lot. I've always known who Steve is. I don't have any idea really honestly what the plot is. I just love all of the fact that like there's all these different characters that show up in the trailer that are part of the game. The little moment where the creeper is behind Jason Momoa, like the creepers are not creepy, but like that just made me chuckle because like that he's gonna turn around and he's gonna scream like a little girl and he's gonna run away because that's just the way that's set up. I don't know. I think a lot of it is, again, the frame of reference, but I think this is going to be fun. I don't have any idea what the plot is. I think that they might have actually taken a video game idea, disconnected it from the game, but also made it associated to a point where it's going to be a success. And I think part of that success is just going to be because of the prime audience for that movie. Also, the screaming llama. I mean, it's been a thing in the internet for 20 years, but it's still entertaining. I don't know. Wolfman, always ready for a good horror movie. I actually just saw something the other day that like one of the most gruesome and amazing like werewolf transformations is like American Werewolf in London or something like that. And I feel like Wolfman might rival that as far as like intensity for like changing into a werewolf, because you kind of see that in the trailer, like you said, the kind of the gore that is in that trailer. I don't know. I think this is going to make the werewolf story not so far distant as like 17th century Britain. Like this is going to be what happens when a werewolf shows up today in America, and that is kind of terrifying actually. at the end of the day, point wise, I'm probably going to see both of these. I will have to take the kids to see Minecraft. So I'm going to go 7 points for Werewolf because I'm more excited about that. But I do think Minecraft has something to say. So 3 for that.
Tabitha.
I don't know that either one of these like trailers made me want to watch these movies. So Minecraft, I'm gonna sound like a big old asshole. I have always felt like Minecraft video game wise is below the intellectual level of even the children when they're playing it. Like, I get that it's something to turn your brain off, but like the problem solving skills that they're learning are nil in that game, and it really makes me angry. Like, they're having fun and I appreciate that, but like, I don't know, there's something very brain rotty about Minecraft versus like some of the games that they play that are more strategy based.
Well, not really meant to be a
Well, I know it's not meant to be,
meant to be
but like
world building.
But it's I don't know. I like to see them play things that test their brain power, and that game does not do that.
That's
and
right.
I mean, I know not everyone needs their brain power tested all the time, but like when you're a kid, like you need the influence of things to keep your brain going, and Minecraft feels brain rotty. And the movie also felt brain rotty because like I feel like if I watch that, I'm gonna lose like 75 IQ points. The Wolfman trailer, I am so worried they're gonna mess it up that I can't pass judgment until I see it. So I'm gonna go 5 and 5.
All right. So with a score of 26-14, Wolfman eats that llama.
Ew.
What?
I don't know. Just gave me the heebs.
I have that effect on people. All right. Let's go to gut reaction.
Gut reaction.
All right, so first thing for gut reaction tonight. Fan activist Sabrina Carton has teamed up with Wonder Woman herself, Linda Carter, for a campaign to help Kamala Harris get into the White House. Geeks and Nerds for Harris Walls is hosting a free live stream on September 24th featuring Stacey Abrams, LeVar Burton, Patty Jenkins, Bill Nye, Mary Trump's Nerd Avengers, and more. But just announced was another new guest, Mark Hamill.
Ooh.
The event is hosted by Carter and Carton. Is free. For more information, check out geeks.forharris.org. I'm giving this a thumbs up. Even like, obviously with something like this, you can't take politics completely out of it. But taking politics out of it as much as you can, the fact that, like, hey, like, geeks are, a voting, like, I don't want to say voting class. That's not the word I'm looking for. But, like, the fact that it's like, hey, like, you're trying to get the geek vote, I think is fantastic. So, yeah, you and plus, like, it's Linda Carter. How am I going to give anything but a thumbs up to Linda Carter? So, yeah. Tabitha.
Yeah, giant thumbs up. Every name you said, I was just perking up a little higher. Then you got to Mark Hamill, so thumbs up.
Matt.
Yeah, I think whenever you can use like the celebrity status and key in on a particular group in order to motivate them for not just political action, but just like for positive action, because regardless, the act of voting is a positive act. So I think that's a good thing. So thumbs up.
Lydia.
I'm going to be the outsider and say thumb sideways just because, like you said, you can't completely separate the politics from things like this. I love the overall geekdom and the people that are like banding together for this, but I don't want to have to appreciate either one of the people that are currently running for this country. So there's that.
Fair enough. Lydia, would you rather vote for Carmen Sandiego?
I would, actually.
I mean, you'd never see her in the White House, though. That's the thing.
I mean, is she on a golf course?
She's somewhere in the world. So speaking of Carmen Sandiego, there is going to be a new game coming out for Carmen Sandiego that, on the flip side of all the other games that we've had over the years, makes it where you can actually play as Carmen Sandiego. So HarperCollins Productions and Gameloft are teaming up to make the single-player puzzle game. You play as Carmen Sandiego. It basically gives you a chance to go and be the thief detective that she is and find out all the different clues and stuff to find the different people. The weird thing about this to me is that the way the trailer makes it look is it almost seems like she's a good guy. And she's never really a full bad guy, but like, to me, when I first saw this, my thought was, oh, I get to like play Carmen Sandiego and run away from Acme, and you know it's gonna be her how she gets away from them, and it's like instead you are basically doing the same thing that you did when you were trying to find her as her, and that just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm kind of iffy on that. Also, the game is going to release initially on Netflix, which I completely forgot they had their own gaming platform, so that really threw me off for a minute. And then after that, it is going to be released to Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. I'm going to go thumb sideways because love Carmen Sandiego. Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego was like one of my favorite games when I was growing up. But the like flipping it on the head that they've kind of done with it confuses me, and I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. I'm also going to have to go thumb sideways. Initially, I was like, yes, I am here for this. This sounds amazing. Get to play as Carmen Sandiego and, like, you know, try to evade, you know, whatever. But then you described it more, and now I'm just confused. If I ever do get around to playing it and, you know, I can figure out what the hell you were just talking about. Cool, but yeah, like, yeah, they could have gone a different route on that. Tabitha.
Yeah, I was super excited until... Yeah, I always felt she was more like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And, like, it just feels like they made her a goody two-shoes or something. I don't like that, so thumb sideways.
Now I just have anti-hero stuck in my head. Matt.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with everybody else. Like, I thought that she wasn't really a good guy. I mean, I like the idea of playing as her, but then I was like, okay, well, maybe if you pose her as kind of like a Nathan Drake, like Uncharted type of scenario, but like in the Uncharted games, there's always a bad guy, like Tomb Raider, like there's always a bad guy chasing after Nathan Drake to also try and get the treasure. So like maybe if you played it off like that, it would be one thing, but it kind of doesn't feel that way. So I'm confused. Also, again, Netflix has a game thing.
Yeah.
I always forget that's a situation. Thumb sideways.
Tabitha, let's talk Twilight.
Oh, God, okay.
Why are we still talking Twilight?
That is a that is a wonderful question, Lydia. That is because when they decided not to make the Stephanie Meyer's Twilight Midnight Sun, where it's Edward's point of view of Twilight, into a movie, apparently Netflix decided what they should do was make it into an animated series. Yeah. It's gonna, yeah. Okay. I don't know why this is happening. But we all know what Twilight is. Midnight Sun is literally the reverse. It is Edward's experience of exactly the same moments that are happening in Twilight, but from his perspective.
But only worth one book instead of three.
But no, just Twilight. Just the first book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like the whole series condensed into one.
So there's like no news about it yet. They announced this in March, and now they still haven't had any casting. But I can't. We can't stop it now. So we're gonna get one. And I think we should all have to watch it because I'm gonna feel like I have to watch it for completion issues, and it's only going to be like 6 episodes or 8 episodes, so it should be short. But I don't understand why it's gonna be animated, and also there's no voice casting. So like, how you gonna have Edward talking and it's not gonna be Robert Pattinson, and how you gonna have somebody talking like Bella and it not be K-Stu going Edward? Like I don't. This is garbage.
Is this your audition to play Bella?
Yes. I'm going thumb sideways because I kind of want to see just how bad the train wreck is.
Matt.
No. I was subjected to the first book. I was subjected to the first movie. I knew what this story was when it arrived on shelves, and it should have died in a fiery inferno, and should never be resurrected in any form, whether it's animated or otherwise. So thumbs down.
Lydia.
So I'm not even gonna lie. I read the 4 books, and now, like, looking back, it's like, why did I read those books? I've watched the movies. I've never understood why we needed a book from his perspective in the first place. The fact that they were going to try to make a movie out of it and now they've turned it into an animated series just makes even less sense. And I don't want this in my life, but I have already added it to the guilty pleasure dumpster fire list for when it comes out. But I'm still going thumbs down.
I was about to say that I would never watch this, but clearly Lydia has proven me wrong.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm going to give this a thumb sideways, believe it or not. Yeah, I guess I can't say that I won't watch it, but I have no interest in watching it. But that said, the idea of a story told from a different perspective, just in general, does kind of intrigue me. Not even talking about Twilight specific, just like any story told from a different character's perspective could be cool. So in that instance, like, yeah, there's an audience for it. Other people will probably enjoy it. I will just probably not be one of those people.
There was only ever one other Twilight character that I wanted a story from, and that was Rosalie.
Same.
Matt, let's talk about Happy Gilmore and get away from this.
I mean, I can't say that this is any better of a situation. So they're doing a Happy Gilmore 2? Yep, that's actually a thing. Adam Sandler is reprising his role because you can't really have Happy Gilmore 2 without Adam Sandler, which that's fair. But Christopher McDonald and Julia Bowen have officially signed on for the sequel. Just in case you really were concerned on who else was going to fill out this cast, the musical artist Bad Bunny and Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce are also signed on to this film.
What?
Yep, I still love Adam Sandler, but this should not at all be a thing ever. Because how's he going to battle Bob Barker on the golf course? Thumbs down.
Too soon. I mean, there is a way.
Wow.
I mean, depends on
zombie Bob Barker.
I was about to say, depends on if Bob was buried or cremated. Lydia.
So remember the whole conversation we were having before we started about like movies that we haven't seen?
You've never seen Happy Gilmore?
I hadn't even seen The Waterboy until about a month ago.
Oh.
Wow.
So
That's honestly impressive.
Yeah. Honestly, good for you. You have way more brain cells than the rest of us.
I feel like I use like gifts from them all the time, but I had no idea what the context was.
Have you seen Billy Madison?
No.
Because those are probably like the big three.
Yeah, those are the big three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Daddy, I would put it like 4.
Well,
That
Little
one I've
Nicky.
Little Nicky.
Little
yeah.
Nicky.
No, I have not.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway,
And now we all just watch Adam Sandler movie. Adam Sandler movie marathon. Not
Welcome
at
to
Mitch's
the
house
Adam
'cause his
Sandler
TV doesn't
movie
work.
podcast.
Adams.
I tried to say Adam Sandler movie, but apparently I just said Adam Sandler. It's fine.
Close enough.
Lydia, you were saying, please, for the love of God.
Long story short, I haven't seen the first one. I have no frame of reference. I don't know what's going on. Thumb sideways, maybe? Sure. I don't know.
If this were like 10 to 15 years ago, I'd give this a thumbs sideways. If this was 20 years ago, I'd give this a thumbs up. I don't understand why we need this in the year of our Lord 2024. Thumbs down. Tabitha.
Yeah, I don't. There are some movies that I just don't think we need a sequel to. And this is definitely on that list. So I don't. Thumbs down. I'm just going to go full down.
So, in an interview with the New York Times, Will Ferrell and former SNL head writer Harper Steele talked about their time on SNL. Regarding one of Ferrell's most famous characters, late Attorney General Janet Reno, he said, quote, "That's something I wouldn't choose to do now." Steele, who is a transgender woman, added, quote, "This kind of bums me out. I understand the the laugh is a drag laugh. It's, hey, look at this guy in a dress, and that's funny. It's absolutely not funny. It's absolutely a way that we should be able to live in the world. However, with performers and actors, I do like a sense of play." Reno spoke to the St. Petersburg Times about the character years ago, and said that it reminded her of how, quote, important humor is. She also did cameo on SNL alongside Ferrell's character in 2001. I'm giving this a thumbs up in the sense I don't necessarily agree with Will Ferrell in this instance where like they're like basically where both him and Harper are basically saying, it was almost disrespectful. Sure, kind of, but not really. I mean, clearly Janet Reno accepted it. Janet Reno, played into it, obviously. But like at the same time, that's still part of humor. You still should be able to do that as long as, you're punching up and not punching down. From what I remember of those sketches, I wouldn't necessarily say that there was a punching down type of situation. I could be wrong. Like I said, I was a kid when I saw those sketches. But I'm giving this a thumbs up because, at the end of the day, it's Will Ferrell's choice. And if he says, hey, I wouldn't do this again, more power to you, man. Tabitha.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. So, I feel like I'm a cis white woman. I don't have the ability to make a judgment on it one way or another if it was in poor taste or not. Like, if someone in that community who was offended, or if the entire community was offended, then I understand. Whatever. But kudos to Will Ferrell, because we live in a time when a lot of people are afraid to say that they made a mistake in the past, and they're too quick to just be like, oh, well, it was funny then, you can't say anything funny now. Good for Will Ferrell for recognizing that even if one person was offended, way to recognize that maybe you did something in the past that you don't necessarily regret, but if you were to ask to do it again, you wouldn't do it. And I think that doesn't just apply to TV and actions. I feel like that's a good message to the entire world. We've all said shit in the past that looking back now, you would never say. And it's not just because it's not politically correct anymore, but because you've grown as a person. So good for Will Ferrell. Thumbs up.
It's probably the nicest thing you've ever said about Will Ferrell.
It's not my fault that I hate his chest hair. And I hate his movies, and he's one of the reasons I never watched SNL. Mitch did make me watch the most SNL I've ever watched in my entire life at work the other day. So.
Yeah. I had to show her David S. Pumpkins.
Yeah. Fair.
Anyway.
Don't look at me.
No.
No.
Matt.
Those are not the type of questions that really have answers anyways. I think in general, I just have to agree with both of you guys that at the end of the day, he is looking back on this character, and good, bad, indifferent, it's not something that he would do. And as an actor, that's your choice. You have, like, you did that. You can say, I should or should not have done that. Like, I won't do it again, etc. That's your prerogative. And for him to, again, in this time, to go back and say, okay, maybe this wasn't my proudest moment. Am I completely ashamed of it? No, but could I have thought better? Yes. Like, just to have the wherewithal to verbalize that in today's society, thumbs up to him for that.
Lydia.
I really don't have anything else to add. You guys have pretty much said it all, so thumbs up.
We still have a few more stories to talk about, but we also have been in my house for like 3 hours. Not quite, but close.
Feels like it.
So these last handful of stories, let's try to go as quick as possible. Tabitha, let's talk about your bestie, George R.R. Martin.
Oh, I can talk about this real fast.
I almost posted this if it's what I think it is.
Oh my God. He, on his blog that he has time to write,
Not a blog.
he said, whatever. He said that he's basically been I'm going to paraphrase, too distracted to be able to find solace in his writing because of the ruination of his characters by HBO, and how he feels like no matter what he writes now for Winds of Winter, either it's not going to live up to people's expectations from the TV show, or people are going to be looking at him to like effectively rewrite it the way everyone wanted them to, and it's too much pressure and whatever. His actual quote is, "Writing came hard, and though I did produce some pages on both Winds of Winter and Blood of Fire, I would have liked to turn out a lot more." He's been frustrated with his TV shows, saying, "My various television projects ate up most of my time. The stress kept mounting. The news went from bad to worst. My mood seemed to swing between fury and despair. And at night, I tossed and turned when I should have been sleeping." Me too, George, but I get up and go to my job every day. Like, I also don't sleep. I also have mood swings. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to write this book that you've been on contract for this long. Like, if you're not going to write it, just don't write it and quit writing about it in your blog. Like, the time you're writing your blog, you could have been writing your book. Like, I know you need another creative outlet, but like, writing about why you're not writing is a bad look when you're on contract to produce a book. He's never going to write it. He says he's been saying for, I don't even know how long, he's 3/4 of the way done. I don't know if George knows how math works, but like, he says he's still writing it. But if you have been 3/4 of the way through and you've been still writing, you're no longer 3/4 of the way through unless you're deleting a bunch of shit and then rewriting it. In which case, that's not how you're going to get a book, George. Like, you're not going to make everyone happy. This book is inevitably either going to come out and it's going to piss people off, or it's going to come out and it's going to finalize everything everybody's been waiting for. I honestly think the man is waiting on himself to die. Like, at this point, like, he and I are both waiting on his demise. So, dearest George, if you're listening,
We know you are.
we know you're here, and I understand your struggle. And if you want an easy out, I will administer your cocktail. Like, let's go. Thumbs down for George R.R. Martin. At this point, I don't even want the damn book. Like, I'm just going to pretend like it ends at the end of that book, and it's going to be like, oh, wild. I'm just going to write my own ending. And then they all turned into smoke and ash, and they were all dead. Goodbye. The end.
Matt.
This is just such a disaster. It continues to be a disaster. He's a disaster. He's making excuses.
Mm-hmm.
He is scared of the shit that he's created and doesn't know how to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to happen. These last two books are never going to be written. So I guess I'll have just read Game of Thrones twice and never read anymore, because I'm not going to pick up the rest of this series knowing that I'm never going to get an actual conclusion. That's just an absolute waste of my time when there's 6 million other books I want to read. So either pony up and admit that it's not going to make everybody happy, or pony up, admit that you're not going to do it. Thumbs down to him.
I'm going to say something, Lydia, please don't get offended. My grandma used to say, Lydia, please don't get offended.
That's a weird thing for her to
No,
say.
no. Lydia's going to be
I'm
like,
very confused now.
my grandma used to say, either shit and get off the pot or die like Elvis.
Wow.
So that's my advice to George R.R. Martin. You said pony up. I say shit and get off the pot or die like Elvis.
So
Okay,
Lydia,
That I've heard the first part of that. I've never heard the okay. Anyway, so yeah, that is exactly the story that I thought you were gonna tell. And I saw that the other day, and I almost sent it to you because I didn't know if you'd seen it or not. But yeah, like this man is just ridiculous at this point. Like I feel like we've been talking about him writing this book since I joined the podcast, and that was like 6-7 years ago at this point,
Yeah.
guys.
honestly, maybe longer.
Yeah.
If we wrote everything down that we've been talking about that book on this podcast, we would have the length of that book.
Yeah. It's like at this point, you know, that AI that we were like complaining about earlier with like just plunking your character names, say I need this many words written, and just give them the book because like that's the only way this thing's ever gonna get done.
We have a fantasy AI. It's Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah,
There you go. But no, just thumbs down. Like, give up, man.
Yeah. Total thumbs down. Brah, we've known that you've been too worried about not living up to the show's expectations since the final season of the show. We know. Just get over it, brah. Just write it. Matt, let's talk about Star Wars.
So remember in Rogue One when that CGI generated Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin showed up, and we're all like, "Oh my god, this is so bad! Why did this happen?" So Disney's getting sued for that finally because they used Peter Cushing's likeness, essentially against his will. There's a Tyburn Film Productions has a judge's formal ruling to take legal action against Disney, citing a deal they had signed with Cushing in 1994, long before Rogue One, which gave them veto rights over recreation of his image using special effects. So, which obviously Rogue One did just that. So I don't know. We'll see how this is going to play out. Nothing has really happened apart from the fact that this Tyburn Film production has the go-ahead legally to bring action against Disney for said awful CGI reproduction. So, TBD on what happens, but Disney will probably just buy their way out. But thumbs up to them because not only are they making good on that agreement they had with Peter Cushing, but they're bringing light to how awful that CGI was in that movie.
Lydia.
I'm highly amused by the fact that he came up with this like stipulation for a contract in '94 when this kind of like thing really wasn't even around yet. So the fact that he had the kind of foresight to be like, so in the future, don't do this is just amazing. Also, the fact that it took him this long to try to sue Disney. When did Rogue One come out?
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, like it's been a while.
Probably like 7 or 8 years.
What, 17 or 18 probably?
I was going to say 16 or 17, yeah.
Yeah, so the fact that like they took their sweet time to pull this contract out and be like, hey, by the way, you can't do this is a little confusing. Yeah. But I'm kind of happy that they are, and just pointing out the fact of, hey, you shouldn't have done this, and I can prove it legally, so thumbs up to them.
Yeah, definite thumbs up. This probably has been going on longer than we know.
Probably.
They probably have, tried to settle this beforehand with Disney, be like, hey, just so you know, this has been a thing. And Disney was like, haha, fuck off.
Just in that Mickey Mouse voice too, apparently.
Yes.
Where the fuck is my bell? Ring, ring.
Oh, notice he didn't
Ring,
get that out this week.
Ring.
Where is your bell?
Oh, it's mine.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. That was horrible.
That was amazing.
I'm going to have nightmares of Mitch talking in different accents all night, and I'm never going to leave my house again.
Anyway.
She wakes up and punches me, you're in trouble.
Fair. Now she's going to do it just on purpose.
Oh my god.
But anyway, but yeah, so while this probably has been going on for probably a few years now, but still Disney probably should have known about this beforehand, and this probably never should have happened. So, yeah, Tabitha.
Yeah, what Lydia said, like, what an amazing forethought to have. Like, you know what? I don't want them to ever be able to use my face. Like, is he a time traveler? Like, did he know this was happening? Good for him. But like you said, Disney will just buy their way out of the contract to shut him up, and it'll all be over. And hopefully we never have to listen to Mitch talking that Mickey Mouse voice ever again. So thumbs up for him, not Mitch.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was alarming.
This next story started off as a suggested post on my Facebook, and then I was like, what? And then I shared it with you guys, and then I Googled about it, and now it's like every third post on my Facebook is something about this. But still. So 90s cult classic Empire Records is getting new life. I'm sorry. Did your shoulder pop?
Yeah,
I heard that over here.
Yeah, that was my shoulder.
Guys,
guys-
we're all ancient.
Yeah, I started to say, you guys forget Matt's like 65 years old.
Yeah, right.
So 90s cult classic Empire Records is getting new life in the 20s. McCarter Theater Center in Princeton, New Jersey is debuting Empire Records the musical. For those unfamiliar, Empire Records tells the story of a group of misfits who work together at a record store. In the span of a day, they come together to stop the record store from being sold to a soulless corporation, and they also have a visit from past his prime pop star Rex Manning. The script is written by original screenwriter Carol Heikkinen. Empire Records is running now through October 6th. Definite thumbs up on this. Empire Records, even though I have not seen this movie in many years, it's one of my favorite movies. I love everything about it. This movie is 90s in a bottle. We learned earlier that Lydia has not seen it. Not Seth, you have also not seen it? Okay. I'm going to force you both to see it like Clockwork Orange style.
That sounds painful.
Please don't do that.
But yeah, so like, and because of where, it takes place in a record store. So like, this being a musical, like, it lends itself to that fact, And the cherry on top is the fact that this was written by one of the original screenwriters of the movies. So it's not like it's just like a, like a cheap ripoff. Like, this is somebody who has, very good knowledge of this story and these characters. I only wish that I lived anywhere closer to this. I would be there in a heartbeat. Tabitha.
This is also one of my favorite movies, and so you know how like on like a bunch of like 90s and early 2000s TV shows, they would always have like a musical episode, and sometimes it would be like a themed musical episode. I always had this like absolute dream that one of like the CW TV shows like Riverdale or something would do like a theme of Empire Records, and it would be a musical, because that again is it leans itself, it's very fitting. Like, yes, 100% yes. Huge thumbs up.
Matt.
I honestly think this is a wonderful idea. I love that one of the original writers is involved. I don't know. This is fun. I almost wish that this would make like a touring company, and end up, elsewhere. But thumbs up.
Lydia.
So as you have said, I have not seen this, but I'm going to give it a thumbs up, not only because you are excited, but because of a conversation me and Kevin were actually just having the other night of movies that get turned into musicals tend to do really good. It does not work the opposite way majority of the time. Like, if you try to turn a musical into a movie, it just sucks. But all the musicals that I've seen that were based off of movies first, like Heathers is a great example. The musical is better than the movie. So I am excited to see first the movie so that I have a frame of reference and I can, make you happy, and then listen to this musical, because I'm betting the musical is probably going to be better, honestly.
So the second our TV gets fixed, you're coming over here, watching the movie, and then we're all flying out to New Jersey.
Okay.
So we've got time for one last story, and our last story has a first name. It's OSCAR.
Your story is something that happened a while ago, but we were on hiatus, and I felt like we needed to talk about it because one of our favorite things is to talk about weird things and food. So this actually happened in July, and it was kind of quote unquote local.
What?
Yeah, it happened in Chicago.
What?
Yeah.
The Wienermobile crashed
Yep.
in Chicago on I-294, and it rolled on its side.
Okay, real quick, before, because you're laughing and everything, just to make sure everybody was okay?
Yeah, no, everyone's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, actually, that's so funny. Like, there was 4 people dead. Honestly, that sounds kind of on brand for me. I understand your concern. Okay. Everyone was fine. But they were on I-294, and the driver of the Wienermobile lost control, overcorrected,
He
and
lost control of his wiener.
I mean, been there.
it rolled on its side. This was an ISP, Illinois State Police report that had to be written. And that is the biggest part of this that brings me joy. They had to close the right lane of the highway for a little over an hour. But they were just grateful that there were no injuries and that everyone was fine. It is really sad, though, to see the video of the Wienermobile being carted away.
On the trailer.
But yeah. The Wienermobile crashed in Chicago in July, and I don't know of a more fitting thing to have happened.
Hot dog.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Hot dog. Is that a wine shame?
It's a wine
Yep.
shame.
There are so many different shames this year, guys.
Did you know that's not called the Wienermobile anymore?
What is it called?
The Frankmobile.
That's
They
lame.
renamed it earlier this year, last year. Let's see.
The Frankmobile.
Yeah, last year.
Well,
because-
someone needs to tell CBS Chicago that then.
Maybe it was a limited stunt or something. Maybe it was just one of them is the Frankmobile.
Yeah, because there's not just one Wienermobile, which I was mind blown to find that out. I
Yeah.
just assumed there was one Wienermobile and it
No.
was the Wienermobile.
Well, you can apply to be a driver for the Wienermobile.
Which those are
I'm way
called
too
hot
volatile
doggers.
of a driver
They're
to be
called hot
driving.
doggers? Oh my god.
Wienermobile.
Did you know there's a Planters Peanuts mobile?
I did know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
See,
So we have
you get all
I
your
did
little
not know
wieners and
that.
nuts on the road.
Wieners and nuts.
That's on the
Driving around. How very on brand for America.
Truth.
Lydia stole my joke. That's what I get for having to share a mic. Everybody say bye.
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 That's going to do it for this episode of The Geek Awakens. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot us an email at thegeekawakenspodcast@gmail.com.
It would be a shame if you didn't follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Geek Awakens Podcast or on Twitter at Geek Awakens.
Theme music created and produced by E. Cannon Beats.
Our logo was designed by Shay McCain.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. We're boldly gone.